This podcast contains adult language, descriptions of violence, sexual references, and other possibly offensive themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Previously on Back to the Story.
Hello, greetings, good afternoon. Funny seeing you here. Do you happen to know where Bloodhounds is?
Aye, well, you found it. What are you doing looking for Bloodhounds? If she noticed you, and it's likely she did, that means there's likely someone or maybe a few for watching you. Colt, there's a warrant out for your arrest for the murder of Sirik Gath. Come quietly and come with us. Alright, so we'll jump back into it. So as you guys were passing by the old lady's house, supposedly known as the matron, you were greeted, or Vesper attempted to spell to locate Colt, finding nothing, and you were greeted with 3 tieflings, the Red Watch, a division of the Covenant in the Devil's Yard, who presented a warrant for your arrest of someone you haven't heard of. They're demanding you now present your wrist, specifically Ellery first, in order to be manacled. The leader of the bunch walked forward in order to manacle Ellery. As he began to grab for her wrist, Ball grabbed his, which is where we come back to. Let me be clear. If you resist further, you'll be charged with resisting arrest, and we will be required to use force in order to bring you in. Do not make that mistake.
So I think when your computer shut off, you missed that I did present my wrists.
Okay. So you pull your wrist up. Ball, do you let go?
Yeah, so when Ball sees... So Ellery basically, when that happened, she was looking at Ball, and when Ball sees Ellery make eye contact with him and kind of acknowledges that it's okay, Ball will slowly release the wrist of the leader.
Okay. So, Ellery, you are manacled, both your hands, and then he brings out a few more for the rest of you. You don't have any ones for you. A rope will have to do, looking at Ball. But otherwise, attempts to manacle the rest of you in irons. Does anyone resist as they do this?
I hesitate, but I don't resist.
Okay.
As this is all happening, I think Ellery is looking kind of a little bit unfocused, but she tries to think at Felix. Felix, tell the others, I don't know, I can't think.
Okay. How about I just reassure them to stay calm for now, and I will spread the word if we need to make a break for it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Felix.
Of course. And I will, one by one, as I can only talk to one person at a time, spread that down the line.
And as Felix is doing that one by one, they are one by one putting you all in manacles. They're all iron except for Ball. They don't have any that fit him. So they pull out some rope and tie his wrist.
DM, do they seem to just have kind of a stash of manacles and is just like locking everyone up, or like what do they do when they approach me?
They approach you with manacles. It's the one that's doing it. The other 2 are covering with weapons. So it's just the one that approaches, opens up the manacles to ask you to present your wrist, essentially.
Okay. Elle does so.
Okay. After a few minutes, if there's no big resisting, they have you all manacled. Ball, they have you tied up. There's a few moments of them taking any obviously sheathed weapons off of you. They don't rifle through your stuff to grab anything, but any obvious weapons they take off. And one of them begins putting it in one of his packs and carry it. As they begin to lead you off, the leader in the front and the other 2 kind of flanking to the left and right begin leading you through the streets. You leave out of this area of the Devil's Yard and enter onto a more main road. After about maybe 5-10 minutes, enter into a more congested section. Tieflings are moving about. They're taking a wide berth around you as they kind of walk around you, continuing about their business. It is misting, kind of drizzling lightly, so most of them have cloaks on of some sort just to keep the rain off as you're moving through. It's fall, so the rain is cool. They're not overly chilly as you're paraded through the streets. Eventually, you see a building up ahead that seems to be your destination.
As we go, I'm keeping up the concentration on locate creature just in case.
Sure. Nothing so far. As you're continuing, you begin to see your likely destination ahead, a stone building as opposed to the mostly timber lodge-style houses here. And it seems to be more fortified, and it looks like it is some sort of outpost or fortress of some sort. Small, but you see a number of Red Watch as you begin to approach. You're about maybe 200 yards from it when you first notice it, but after not too long, you begin to see the Red Watch there beginning to mobilize a bit, just your presence as you're being paraded down the street. If there's nothing, you are continued to be led towards it, where a small force of Red Watch are waiting, a few on the barricades above this fortress-like structure, and a few mounted kind of at the base. There's a portcullis that leads into a courtyard. They open it up and kind of lead you in. It's not a huge courtyard. It's maybe only 30 feet by 30 feet, but it's enough as they close it behind you and begin to lead you into, there's a main front door, but you're led into a side one where it opens up into a small room where they lead you in one by one. At this point, they do take your backpacks off, shields, stuff like that, any sort of packs. And at which point you are led down some spiral staircase, which is tight for a ball, but you're able to do it until you get down below where there appears to be a dungeon of sort, a few cells.
When they take our backpacks, do they take the pouches or leave those?
They just take the big backpacks at this point. Your shield, your weapons, and the big obvious backpacks, leaving smaller things, as long as they're not small weapons. And you're led down the spiral staircase into a dungeon. It's very dark.
Search us for weaponry.
Let's find out.
So I've got 6 knives, and I don't want them found.
They rolled a 14. Give me a sleight of hand check.
Jesus. That's a 15.
Okay. So they find a few knives on you, the more obvious ones. I'll say you're able to, just barely beating them, you're able to hold onto one knife.
Okay.
That you hide somewhere on your person.
I was imagining I have a couple in my boots and then some in my sleeves.
Okay. So they once they find, this girl has 2 hidden knives, they start searching you a little bit more, but you're able to, by beating them, hang on to one knife. Is your choice of where it is, but you hang on to one knife, probably in your boot or sleeve. But the other ones they find and pull off.
And for the record, I have the bone shiv currently in my arm.
Yeah, in theory they can't detect that. So you guys are led down into this dark, dank, kind of moldy smelling dungeon. There's one torch that's giving off a bit of dim light. The rest of it is just dark. There's a few cells. If you guys are corralled and pushed into separate cells, they are adjacent to each other for the most part, with one stone wall kind of in between. So you're surrounded on 3 walls by stone and one basically wall of iron bars. You guys are led in there. They close the gate, lock it.
How long are we expecting to be down here?
The investigator will be down here shortly for questioning.
Okay.
You'll have to wait.
How thoroughly did they search Stitches?
Are you hiding something?
Well, only that, so she has disguised self up, so if they start poking and pawing, then they'll figure out something's weird.
Okay, so I think they make an intelligence check against your DC?
Yes, which I have to correct myself, it is 17, not 18.
Okay. Well, that's a natural 1, so they pat you down, but they don't pat you down until they're down in the dungeon for you for whatever reason. They're focused on Ball and the armored people. So they pat you down, but it's dark enough to where, and your disguised self is close enough to your real one to where they don't notice anything. And you're not holding any weapons, I don't think.
I have a crossbow listed, but I don't think I would have brought it.
Okay. Yeah, so they pat you down, but they don't notice anything, or at least this person didn't.
Yeah.
As you guys are placed into your separate cells, they are locked. You're still manacled by the hands, and they go back up the stairs.
Did we notice anyone else down here?
It's hard to see down there. There's maybe one or two other people in these other cells as well. There's a long hallway with cells on the left and right. The entrance, the staircase, the spiral staircase is on one end that heads up, and on the other end there's a table and a chair where the guard is sitting. So you may be able to see into the cells partially, but if you're in the back, you probably are out of his line of sight.
Okay, I'm going to just scoot into the back, and with my thieves' tools, I'm going to just pop one of my manacles and keep it so that it looks like it's on my wrist, but open. Or at least I'm going to try.
Make a thieves' tool check.
That's with dexterity?
Yeah.
22.
Yeah. Easily pop it off, and you can get it to where it's almost closed but doesn't quite click.
I think under normal circumstances I would think of doing something similar, but right now I'm a little bit less than 100%, let's say. So I just kind of lean against a wall. So we were put in separate cells. Were we all on one side, or am I facing anybody that I know?
You're facing across from Amson. You're kind of spread out because there's a few 2 occupied cells, but otherwise we're just kind of spread out.
Okay, so I'm just kind of leaning, staring out vaguely in his direction, but not really focused on him.
Amson looks completely unfazed by the whole situation, and I guess he'll look over to you and just kind of wave, or try to with his manacles.
I think I just have the barest hint of a smile at that.
I would like to touch the pouch on my hip and think to Felix, so I can try and call for help. I don't think this is really linked with the Covenant. It'd be the last of my big magic for the day, though.
For the sake of things, I'll pass that around so everyone can chime in whether or not they think that's a good idea.
Whatever gets us out of here sooner. Last time we were in chains, it didn't go so well.
Do we want to wait to be questioned to figure out what they're pinning on us, or do we make a break for it? We're not getting any pings on missing people?
Not so far, no. Right, Klouse, I'm still not feeling anything.
No pings.
Not a thing, so...
I'm at least curious to see what story they have for us, but,
I don't want us to be sold. We're all separated. That concerns me.
Depends on how willing you all are to potentially be fugitives in your hometown.
Then I say we take the cautious approach, then.
Elle leans up to the bars and say, "Did you kill that guy?"
No, Elle, this is just one big misunderstanding.
Excellent.
I'm sorry we wrapped you up in this, Miss Forrester.
Oh, no, don't worry about me. I'm not too worried about me. At least not yet. Still got those lemon drops, so if anyone wants a lemon drop.
Is she in the cell beside me?
She's kind of across catty corner to you.
Kitty corner.
Kitty corner.
Damn it. Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, how are we laid out? It's Ellery across from Amson.
Roughly to that, where I put your tokens on that scene thing there. So you have that long hallway, guard at the top end, at the bottom, the stairs, cells on the left and the right. At the bottom, towards the stairs, you have Ellery to the left, Amson to the right. To the left above, you have blank cell, and then, or there's actually someone in it, but not one of you. To the right, you have Felix, the cell, or up, you have L to the left and Vesper to the right, and then further up you have Ball to the left and then a cell with someone you don't know in the right. Small figure in that one.
And I guess we wait for our investigator.
You guys wait, a couple minutes go by. 15, 20, 30, without any sort of information, message. No guards come down. Just kind of stays the same.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Touch the pouch again. So, consensus on do I phone a friend?
It's probably about time.
And I will start counting my words before I cast this. So, if anyone else wants to do something while I do that. Okay. So since I only have one Covenant contact who actually has any power, I will cast my last 3rd level spell and cast Sending to Roderick Rothburn, son of the leader of the Covenant, and go, bit of trouble with Red Watch. False charges. In prison. Can you maybe send some help? I can't reply. You can. And that's it.
Lord. If they have paperwork on you, we're going to have to deal with that. I'll look into it. I have to see what they have. We'll figure it out.
And with a smile, I will pass that on to Felix. All right, Roderick Rothburn, he's the son of the leader of the Covenant, so he should be looking into this for us. Trying to clear whatever's going on.
I will telephone that along.
When I hear that, I will think. And is he going to help all of us or just Vesper?
We'll find out, but I would settle in.
I think all that you hear in your mind coming from Ellery at that point is just a stream of very vulgar words.
Great. I love this connection.
Anson will go up to the gate, to the bars, and just kind of say out to nobody, I spy with my elven eye something that is gray. Oh wait, that's everything. It's dark here. Hold on, give me a second. Let me think.
If you start singing 99 bottles of beer, I will commit a murder.
What about 99 bottles of Klein's spicy tequila?
That doesn't really fit in the meter, though, does it?
A couple hours later, you hear some footsteps coming down the stairs. You see a Red Watch, female, otherwise similarly dressed in kind of dark iron, dark gray cloak, with the infernal I, letter I, inside of a crown circle. She walks down the hallway towards the end, as the other guard gets up, walks out, and she sits down. The changing of the guards.
Felix has begun to meditate, thinking if nothing else, he's gonna just try and zone everything out. And even I doubt we'll be here long enough for a long rest, but just in case, he's meditating for the next several hours.
Maybe if nothing happens in the next hour, if something is going to happen, then just interrupt me. But maybe after an hour, I'll kind of, look over towards where Vesper is and say, I won't be as patient as I was last time.
I don't blame you for that. Starting to get antsy myself, but I don't know. I don't want it to be like last time, and trying to break out of prison before didn't go well for us. I imagine this is in Giant.
Yeah. I think Ball says, maybe last time we left too late.
Well, I don't know, Paul. I'm more worried about the rest of you getting out of here. I think I at least have a ticket out. I hope they'll take all of us, but I don't know how long it's going to be, and I'm certainly not leaving anyone down here.
Ball will call out to the guard and just say, "You, how much longer?"
It will take as long as they deem necessary. I'm just here to watch. Settle in. I'd guess it'd be a long time. They'll come when they're ready. I'll probably be off my shift by then.
You see Ball just takes a big sigh, and you see just, if you look closely, I know it's dark, but you see steam kind of come out of his nostrils. And then he just sits back.
Hearing this, I am going to also call down the hallway. Do you know if they've sent a message to Voyage? He's a friend of Princess Veraxis, as well as of mine.
I don't know. I'm sure she's heard about this, at least. She is the commander of the watch. She then pulls out a book, small book, opens it up, takes out the bookmark, and begins to read.
What genre is that?
What?
I'm just curious.
Is it romance? Is it steamy?
She kind of locks into ignoring you.
It's definitely fanfic.
You could read it out loud.
Jesus. A couple hours later, unless you guys interrupt me if you want to do anything otherwise, a couple hours later you begin to hear footsteps coming down. Stepping forth into the dim light, you see the blue-skinned tiefling, cloak wet from the rain outside, dark hair, beard, clawed marks across his face, Voyage. He goes up to Ellery's cell, but kind of looks into the others. It's a shame. I heard you were charged with murder.
It's bullshit is what it is.
Well, I'm sure justice will sort all that out. How long were you in here? In the Devil's Yard before you were arrested? I ask because it seems like you don't make friends easily.
Not very long at all. In fact, only had just enough time to run into Ziggy.
Yes, I'm aware he does some minor services.
Couldn't find your friend, though.
Hard to find. He's drinking at one place or the other. He looks up at the guard. Switches to Infernal, but Ellery, you understand. Would you mind giving us some privacy, please? She kind of closes the book, puts it on the table, nods, and walks out and up the stairs.
You get closer to the bars once I see her leaving.
He switches to Infernal and remains in it to speak. I'm going to be honest with you, Ellery. I know your friends are very idealistic. Well, change is coming, and I would hate for you all to be caught up in it. This isn't something you're going to be able to stop, and likely something you're not capable to stop.
In Infernal, I'm going to say, I don't even know what's going on here. I just came for some work.
What I heard. Actually, make a deception check. It's a perfect time for it.
And
actually, I really want to give you my portent for this. See what happens. Sure, why not? I'll give you my nat 20. I'm curious.
Okay, so that brings your total to a 20. What? 20 plus your deception.
28.
Really? Suppose I heard things might have assumed they might have changed over the nearly 2 years you spent in Naimanet. If you're really looking to do business, I'm sure we could accommodate you. You did good work previously, but the work that is required now is maybe ask more of you than your friends are willing to abide by. Do you understand?
I do. And I've done other work that is more than they're willing to abide by. but I don't always tell them what my work entails.
And you brought them here.
They are useful.
Hmm.
I can be very discreet with how much I tell them, and how I spin what I tell them.
He kind of leans towards the bar, squinting at you, getting a good look. This is more than just shifting of a few slaves, Ellery. This is bigger than that. There could be significant bounty, power for those who align themselves with us. Those manors you broke into years ago, you could be living in one, do you understand? There will need to be individuals who take up the mantles that are freed.
I am starting to get an idea of the scale of things.
Good. It will not be easy and it will not be clean.
Not much that's worth anything is.
Well, do you still break into places? Or just out?
I'm a little bit rusty at breaking in. I have broken out of a place or two recently.
There's some items that have been confiscated by the Covenant. They don't know what they're holding on to. And I need it. We need it. You'll find them beneath their dungeon, in crates, marked with the name Natha's Tea. I assure you there's not tea in there. They will be heavy. There will be several, but only one we really need. It has some runed devices. If you're ready to make some real money, you could attempt to do that.
Is there a particular timetable for this?
Well, I can get you out, but I'm not so sure I want to remove your wanted status. That might give you incentive to complete your task. The sooner you get my items, the sooner your wanted status will drop. Things have changed, Ellery. Your friends, I don't imagine that they would be willing to do this.
That depends on what I tell them. They'd be willing to do a lot for me.
Ziggy mentioned that some of you were looking for people. Ooh, I'm curious.
Well, I did already mention Mogther's bartender has been missing. It would be nice to find him.
People are going missing more and more these days. It would be good to ensure the safety of your friends and loved ones. Get these devices for me. You can leave them at Mogther's, or you can drop them off at Hassock's. Just let me know when you have them, and I'll retrieve them. I assure you, you and all of your friends' wanted status will disappear once this task is completed. And if not, well, it will remain that they order killed on sight, and once more your friends and family may be brought in for questioning to discover your location. You know, I don't particularly like making threats, Ellery. Things are at work that are larger than I. You say you're ready for work. Get ready to work.
And will I be allowed the help of my friends in order to accomplish this? I think my chances of getting you what you need are better.
You'll have what you need. Good luck, Ellery. And Voyage turns and walks up to the stairs and begins to ascend them, leaving the room. Just as you can no longer hear his footsteps, you hear others coming down as the female Red Watch guard enters into the room, pulls out a set of keys, opens your cell first, Ellery, and then the cells of each of you. Sits back down at the table without saying a word and picks up her book.
I think as soon as Voyage started walking away, I started relaying what he said to me as quickly as I can.
All right, so I'm passing that along as we get let out.
So the guard just unlocks the cells, leaving them ajar, and then sits down, says nothing.
Doesn't unlock the manacles?
She also unlocks the manacles. Klouse forgot about those. But she also unlocks those. Before then she sits down and opens her book again. Yeah, that 20 portent was huge. But you guys are unlocked. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't direct you. But you're able to walk up the stairs if you so choose.
Yeah, let's get out and get somewhere where we can talk for real.
You guys come up to that first little antechamber where they removed your stuff. It's just laying on some tables nearby. There's a guard kind of sitting there, doesn't say anything to you. You pick it up, walk out. You walk through the courtyard. Again, numerous red guards all over the place on the ramparts and other places. As you just walk out, they just basically ignore you. As you walk out, and you're able to kind of walk a little bit of ways away around the block and then find a little alleyway where you can kind of tuck into. At this point, the rain is coming down. Not excessively hard. It is definitely raining at this point.
Is there a eave I can duck under to get less wet?
A little bit of one, yeah.
Great, I will do that. Okay, so that's a lot.
Fuck.
Well, I suppose we don't have too many choices in the matter other than procuring these items. But if we can find some evidence of what they're planning...
We do what with it?
I assume the noble houses they were talking about supplanting don't want that to happen.
Okay, I'll play literal devil's advocate. Knowing what we know about the nobles of the city and what the Covenant gets up to and etc., we're still thinking the Red Watch and everyone here is the greater two evils, right?
Well, it's the evil that's apparently going to murder a lot of the citizenry.
It's the more immediate evil.
Very fair.
And trust me, I've studied history. Slave nations, they don't end well.
So we're on a clock, we're being scrutinized. But we need to look for a way out.
We are still officially wanted for murder.
And apparently we'll be kill on sight if we don't do this quickly.
I've also got my connection looking into things.
At least
paperwork.
Kill on sight is better than a prison sentence here. So we have that going for us.
Well, why don't we get out of this district at least and go scope out what we need to do?
I will turn to our guest, and Amson will say, on behalf of all of us, miss, I apologize for dragging you into this. This is quite a normal circumstance for us, I assure you.
No worries. It's been quite an interesting day, but I can see that there's a lot going on here. If I can be of any assistance, please let me know. I still have things to do, but it sounds like you guys are very... Do you think they're gonna kill me too if I don't help you now? I'm a little confused about that. Of course, they don't know who I am.
I suspect that this threat applies just as much to you as it does to the rest of us.
At least in your current form.
Gotcha.
You could possibly just drop it and walk away.
True.
Neither here nor now, of course.
Yes,
No.
we are moving at this moment. Yeah, I think we should get out of here and talk where
if you
maybe
could
we have some privacy.
Help us look other than how we look right now.
Oh, absolutely, I can do that. Do you, right now as we're walking, or are you asking for the future? I'm a little confused.
Probably both. Let's duck into another alley to let her change our appearance.
I mean, that still doesn't help us with Ball. So,
well,
I don't know if it makes a difference.
Someone's got invisibility, though.
I can turn him invisible.
But we're just leaving for right now.
Yes.
But as soon as we walk out of this district and the regular Covenant are the ones on patrol.
I somehow doubt that they're informed of this little matter. If they knew there were wanted murderers that they just let out, they probably haven't released your information. We were in that district for all of a half hour. This is not public information. I assume Voyage is going to give us time to complete this task. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten out in the first place.
True. Did Voyage give us a concrete time frame for what he wanted?
No, he didn't. He implied soon, but he didn't give you concrete.
You know, we're all biased here, but how much do we want to trust the real Covenant with anything?
I don't trust them with shit.
Unanimous on that?
Don't particularly care. What is it that our end goal, what do we want out of this situation?
I think the ability to clear our names with beyond a reasonable doubt.
That appears to be working for them. If you have no problem delivering these mysterious devices, then I suggest we get to it.
Well, if you didn't do what they said that you did, and you're getting your name cleared for that, what's to stop them from just coming up with something else that you supposedly did?
We'll have to figure that out.
Sorry, am I not being helpful? People tell me sometimes I'm not very helpful in these situations.
The idea is that we do what they're asking for, and in the process, we find another way out, so that if they decide to stab our back, they are unable to do so.
Got it.
Of course, that's all just idealisms and hopes, so we'll see what happens.
Voyage wasn't wrong the way he described you.
Me or her?
Well, he doesn't know her, but you and the others.
Oh,
really?
Idealistic.
To be fair, that's my literal job description, so...
He may not see it as a compliment, but I do. Most of the time.
Appreciate that. Shall we head off then? Figure out what we need to do.
Where do we go?
Did he tell you where to look for these?
The last place I want to go.
In prison?
Underneath Rothburn Rook.
Oh. Well, I mean, I can get us there, at least most of us. That's where Dia works.
What's under there, exactly?
Oh, the prison for one thing.
Great. Out of one, and into another.
A much worse one.
But one where we hopefully stay on the right side of the bars.
And one that we're just going to be able to stroll in and look for a confiscated box?
No. No, it's going to take more than that.
I think we're really going to have to sit down somewhere private and plan this thoroughly.
It's not something that we can just rush off and do with no preparation.
No, we're probably going to need at least plan A, B, maybe C, in case something goes wrong at some point.
Yeah.
We could go to the Abbey to talk. That's outside of the city.
Sit down, we'll draw up a map as best we could, come up with a plan, escape plans if things go terrible, all those wonderful things.
So where are you guys headed? It's raining, it's nighttime at this point, the sun is set, and it's getting colder.
Where are we at in the city?
Yeah, we'll say you're walking out of the district, at least.
So we're in which district now?
Just at the edge of Devil's Yard, depending on which direction you guys were walking.
I'm just trying to figure out whose residence we might be closest to that we can just get to the first place we need to be.
Gotcha. So you'd be about the same distance to Mogthur's as you would to the Abbey. Yeah. And about the same distance to Melly's place as well, if you're also thinking of that.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Should we do the Abbey then, since it's outside? Most people know we'd be at Mogthur's, and
yeah,
that his place is a front. I'll slip into my character voice and say it both in and out of character.
To the Abbey!
Yes.
Okay. So you guys exit the Devil's Yard, entering into the streets. As you're doing so, there's not a whole lot of people out as it's raining. You do pass by a few patrolling Covenant. A few of them recognize you as the people who took out the Volgreth a few years ago. They nod, but otherwise don't mess with you. As you walk out of the gates, there's a few more at the gates. Also don't mess with you as you walk up the hill where the Stone Abbey is atop it. Opening the doors, there's a few candle lights on the inside. You're greeted by one of the priestesses in training there. Varys is apparently back at the Elixirium, who's not currently here. There's a few other patients wounded that are kind of being healed up, but otherwise pretty quiet in this hour.
Is there a private place for us to talk here?
There's Varys' office. Otherwise, there's like a storage work shed area kind of out back.
Can I get into my dad's office?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll let us in there.
The priestess actually opens it and lets you in there. Take as much time as you need. I'll just be waiting by the altar.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Get everyone in and shut the door.
Okay. Pretty tight fit, but you can all fit in there.
Okay. Let's plan a heist.
I think Ellery looks around and opens her mouth like she wants to say something, and then closes it again like she can't figure out what she wants to say.
Elle drops her disguised self and holds out her pouch and says, "Lemon drop?"
You know what? I'll take
yes.
one.
Thank you.
I look at her for a moment, and then I grab one. What the fuck are we going to do?
I think that's the first question. Yeah, are we doing this, or are we doing apparently this, but actually not this?
I don't like the sound of whatever it is Voyage is planning.
Yeah. As much as I think the system in Ember Shore here has its flaws, I don't think the scale that Voyage alluded to is entirely necessary.
Well, what would happen if we were to simply tell your other Covenant that they were planning this? What's your best guess? Some kind of revolution to overthrow several of the noble houses.
Klouse, could I hazard a guess since I know the Covenant probably best?
Sure.
Oh, thanks. I meant, hey DM, knowing them, I don't know, they would probably storm the Devil's Yard and try and put down any and all dissenters. It might just be the same kind of slaughter, but in reverse.
Do you really think they would believe any of this coming from me?
From you? No. From me? From possibly Amson? Ball? Yes, maybe. Probably. I told you earlier, Ellery, I've got let's just call it a private appointment with Roderick Rothburn tomorrow. I can see what I can do to get him on our side about whatever we need to get him on our side about. It's kind of the intention behind it. That was tonight? No, I thought you said that was the day after. Jesus. Don't scare me like that. Anyways, yeah, I kind of mentioned that. I can say whatever I need to say to get him on try and sway him to our side of whatever we need to sway him to.
I think having Covenant on our side would be good for this.
Again, I've got a Rothburn and I've got Dia, which is something.
What we don't have is any evidence. We have hearsay from someone who is not technically connected to these red guards.
But they have the crates. If we say that they need to take a closer look at them, see what they really have, maybe that could help.
If we can win the trust of at least someone influential over the Covenant, and they can help us decode as much of what the Voyage is trying to hide from us as we can, then perhaps we can work with them to perhaps flip their whole plan on its head.
Forgive me, but that seems like a pretty big if to me. And I look at Vesper. how well did it go last time you tried to get help for me?
Admittedly, not well. That's why I was hoping the arrangement I proposed would... Look, if being just friends with Roderick isn't helping anything, I figured maybe trying to be a little bit more might sway him more easily.
Felix gives you the biggest side eye.
I mean, he said yes. To dinner, at least.
Alright, so let's say that's plan A. Okay, it's a big if, but let's say that's plan A. Then plan B what would that be? To take matters into our own hands and try to double-cross the Devil's Yard?
I mean, we can try and push over that old lady and see what she's hiding in her hut.
What happens if we do what Voyage has asked and get this crate?
And then?
That's the question.
I think there is a question of what is in the crate. If we tell the Covenant and they storm down there and check it, and ends up being just a reagent, not any danger in its own form, then we're back to having nothing, and we've shown our hand for Voyage and his crew to do what they wish. If we get down there and is a weapon, and is very clearly one, we don't have necessarily anything hard to connect it to them. It was confiscated presumably not by people who have power in this city, but someone who is smuggling it in. We don't have anything beside, no offense, her word that it's theirs.
No offense taken. The fact that it's only my word is part of what concerns me about all of this.
Elle pipes up and says, I know I haven't been really helpful so far, and you seem to be having a lot of variables you're dealing with, and that this is a situation, there's a lot, I don't know what's going on, but if it does help, I do have a few connections to some of the families that did, the Nexus Trust I've done work for and everything, so, if I think I might be willing to get some kind of, assistance there somewhere, connection. I don't know. Might be helpful, might not. Just, throwing it in the big mess you seem to be dealing with. But that's what I got.
I do appreciate that, Stitches. Though, depending on which families, they might not have a lot of trust in anything to do with me either.
Oh.
Well, since you seem to have so much difficulty trusting the Covenant, the next best thing are the richest people in town willing to fight for their position if we imply that there is a threat from the Devil's Yard. From my personal experience as well as extensive knowledge of history, they will fight for what they believe is theirs. Perhaps they are who we deliver the evidence to, anything we find.
I mean, I don't think they really like the whole smuggling business. They kind of like to be in control of things with money and stuff. I think.
Which families, by the way?
Good question.
I sent you a little message. It should have it in there.
So I've worked really extensively with Mrs. Norbell. Well, maybe not extensively, but I mean, I have at least been to her house and talked to her, and she does love my work, so I have done some stuff for her. But so she is the wife of the director, Francis Norbell. So he is, he's pretty important. And I've also done work for the Fern Arms and the Edmars.
The Fern Arms? Why do I know that name? Somebody connected to them. The winery.
Right, I was just going to say.
That might not be very helpful.
No.
It would make sense that there would be people on the other side helping them. Can't be acting in a vacuum.
I do have one friend among the families.
This is true.
Helena Moorport. But the Norbells certainly don't like me very much.
Oh, but Ellery, you went on a pilgrimage with the Priestess of Redemption and found the light in Nymanet over a year.
Since we seem to be a little stuck, let's do an exercise I sometimes like to try. What is the ideal end result that you are looking for from the whole thing if, that whole area of town is razed to the ground, the slaves are all freed? Big picture. Let's start there and work to how you get it.
Big picture. Well, all the slaves are free would certainly be
a big one.
I don't know about having that whole neighborhood razed to the ground, though. I mean, as much as I don't like the way things work there, I don't think every person there should be held responsible for the way it works.
There were children in the streets. That kind of gave me pause. That's the thing. I wonder, I don't know, big picture, idealistic. I'm being an optimistic follower of Ayin. How much of this is tieflings actually being terrible people, and how much of it is tieflings having to resort to terrible things because everyone thinks they're terrible people? I mean, do we, reform the way we treat them in our society? Is that a big picture deal?
Oh, I can see this exercise is not necessarily going to be helpful with all of you.
There's a lot, Felix. There's a lot to deal with. We've lived here our whole lives and we've seen everything wrong with it.
All right. Well, it's clear from at least your perspectives that the limited people I've talked to in the city that what goes on in the Devil's Yard is not necessarily a well-liked thing by the rest of the citizenry. Based on what you all are saying, there seems to be some kind of ulterior, more sinister motive, and possibly some kind of bad event coming soon of which the town will see losses. At least that's what's been implied. Or at the very least, a political shakeup that I don't think this city has seen. I think we need to find out what's at the center. And perhaps the best way of doing that is to do them a favor.
I think that we do need to at least try and collect this crate. And maybe that will give us an idea of where we go from there.
Okay. Plan A. I'll remind us all we only have Plan A, set in stone, is that I go out to dinner with Roderick and I bat my eyelashes as best I can, which I'm really not great at, but I'll try. And try and get him on our side to help us figure out what's going on. We get the evidence, and once he's helped us find all this evidence is when we start making moves. Do I reveal the crate tomorrow night, or do I hold off on that a little bit and just get him hooked on what we're trying to do before we reveal everything?
How exactly are you going to do that without revealing the crate?
Exactly.
What if you reveal the crate, and he tells somebody else, and they put it under greater guard, and we lose that avenue?
Exactly. And then your hand is shown, Voyage knows that you told one of us, and it got back to the Covenant.
Look, I know you like this Roderick fellow, but...
Well, I want to be able to trust him. He's got influence.
Yeah, he's a fucking Rothburn.
And admittedly, he's my friend, Ellery. Not as good of a friend as you are, but I've helped him out in the past. He owes me, if nothing else, for healing him and his men.
Okay, besides relying on Vesper's feminine wiles, what other avenues do we have to get underneath there?
That is a good fucking question. I've been underneath there, but that was by getting arrested and convicted and sentenced to 8 months, so that would not be my ideal method of getting underneath.
Is there anyone we could possibly find some business to meet with underneath there? Or I guess it's a prison. I can't imagine sneaking in is any easier than getting out. Maybe a little bit easier.
I wonder if there's a way to get in from underneath.
Or do we say fuck it and go try and find your friend?
I mean, saving my fall collection doesn't seem to be quite at the level of what you guys are discussing, but it is kind of important to me.
You know, I actually respect that. best I can tell, we have two options. Break into one prison and steal something from the law in this half of the city, or go and piss off the law of that side of the city, hopefully find people being kidnapped and tortured and evidence of a pending revolution.
I don't think there's much law on that side of the city. Are we really breaking the law there if we do that?
I imagine they'll see it as such.
The way things work with the Covenant, yes, they have their own set of rules with the Covenant. They are allowed to do things there that are not allowed in the rest of the city, according to the Covenant. They paid for it at some point. Therefore, they can do what they want. That's why it's perfectly legal for them to have slaves there and not in the rest of the city.
I know the answer is not enough, but how much money do we have?
I have about 800.
Got about 1,000, 1,500.
I'm more or less broke.
Paul has about 400.
What is the going rate for buying yourself a law?
I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the Covenant bidding system. Essentially, someone will bid an amount to execute a law, and others will bid against it, and the winner is whatever the law is enforced. All the money wouldn't go to the Covenant, but they'll only spend the amount wagered to enforce the actual law. That's how they essentially make the money. Naming a street, you could probably do for a couple hundred gold. Stuff like big things, like slavery, making things illegal or illegal to ship in and out. Stuff like that. Prospecting or speculating on goods and services, or making it so you're the only one who can buy and sell magical goods, big stuff like that. It's in several ingots of platinum, multiple rubies, emeralds, diamonds. It's quite a lot. These rich families or organizations can make quite large sums of money from utilizing these laws.
We're no Norbels.
No, but we know Norbels.
I also say, just for further information, the Devil's Yard has always been able to scrounge up enough money together to keep slavery legal, because that's probably the most expensive covenant they enforce. But this recent change with the Red Watch patrolling the Devil's Yard, none of the other families would want that. The Covenant certainly won't either, and that would be heavily wagered against. And somehow they had enough money to win that bet, which heavily implies they basically wouldn't be able to do that without outside help from another wealthy family. But the wagers are private, so no one's really sure who helped.
But we have a suspicion.
Look, Vesper, you said that you felt the presence of an aberration under the winery?
Yes, lot of it. I don't know, like I said, if it's one big one or a bunch of small ones, but there's a lot of that energy under there.
And the winery seems to be involved in all of this somehow. I have a very bad feeling about what they might be planning, or how they might be planning to enforce whatever changes they intend to bring to the city.
And if the Covenant's mysterious backer that helped them bid for those laws were to suddenly be out, I don't know how often there's a changing, but would that help limit their power?
Quite possibly.
Sorry, I was looking for a note. What was that?
Just if... I don't know. It's a risk. We don't know how related they are to this and what might happen, but if you suspect they are behind the more recent increase in power and have some kind of aberration, as you stated below, perhaps that is the head to cut off.
I mean, I definitely don't feel comfortable with it under the city. I definitely want that cut off, whether it's incredibly tied up in this or not. I could reach out to Gregory and Malfira, see if they're still involved with them. I know
or we can go to their house. I'll smile at Elle.
Sure. I mean, I can make that work. Sure.
My last parting with him wasn't particularly graceful, but, not sure what level of polite discretion we're willing to handle this with anymore.
I'm sure if they've spoken to you more than once, they just chalked it up to normal.
That's incredibly fair and probably true.
So you guys have a couple different options, different ways to find out more information since you don't have much currently. What did you guys want to go ahead and try? Did you want to go to talk to Alonzo or Gredimar, or what do you guys want to do?
All right. Do an out-of-character vote on what we're doing, because
there's so much at stake.
I like it, yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
And you guys don't have much information, to be fair, so the more you gain, the more you'll know what you want to do.
I think talking to people tied up with the winery is a good place to start. I don't know if going straight to the Fern Arms is the best course of action. If they are straight up supporting this, they could fuck us up if they think that we're on the wrong side of this, so we'd have to play it really carefully if we went to them.
Not a strong suit.
Exactly. We could start small with Lorenzo and Gardemar and see if one of them knows anything, if they're still involved, if they're dead. That could be something. But see what they know, and then work our way up.
I think this is a lot, you guys.
There's so much we have to take into account of, if we piss off the wrong person, what strings can they pull? If we piss off these people, what strings can they pull? It's harder to do things when we have people other than ourselves at stake. Because that's what worries.
Not have to care about that,
right? Because that's what worries me in and out of character most, is that if we piss off the wrong person and it doesn't bite us in the ass, it'll bite our families in the ass.
Yeah. And Ellery's pretty sure it'll be her family first.
Probably.
And they're just still playing Ezekiel, who would be all for the scorched earth. I don't know. I think the most useful courses of action would be just trying to get past that old lady somehow and see what the fuck is in there, because she's the one that, I don't know why, but she ratted us out for something. Maybe when Ziggy came back or whatever, but it was her. Like that old bitch and whatever she's guarding in that house. I mean, we can go do the thing, what they want to buy us some time. I assume that would get us off the hook, and maybe we, learn something when we do it. I just don't think we have a solid plan for how to do that at all, because no offense, Swan, but...
No, I don't have a good charisma. It's straight up, you're completely right.
I don't think that...
Vesper has so much more faith in people than I do.
I don't think Roderick's gonna be much help.
Probably not.
I think we need to find out, if we can, possible ways in and out.
Do we think Dia could be help?
I was just about to ask that.
I know she kind of keeps her head down, but she's family. Maybe I'd have a better shot of convincing her to do something, probably.
Even just getting you a way in.
Right. Yeah, I can certainly try that. She's more reliable than Roderick for sure. She doesn't have as much influence, is the reason I keep pushing him. Klouse gave me, as the second in command, basically. As a buddy, so.
I don't know.
So do we want to play it subtle is the thing, and try and work with Dia to get us just in?
I'm curious, Roger or Ball, do you have any thoughts? I haven't heard from you in a bit.
I'm being honest, half these names are over my head, so I can't really say much. Ball doesn't really have a huge connection to Embershore necessarily, whereas everyone has a plethora of friends and family. So Ball's more of the Ezekiel approach, which is just scorch the earth, or if someone's got a problem, then try to manacle Ball again and see what happens.
I will be honest, part of the reason, and some of you might be able to guess this, but Ellery is thinking about other possibilities of what we might be able to do if we're going underneath Rothburn Rook.
Oh, hard Sam.
Let's go for it. Let's just kill everybody we don't like in this town.
Fucking, yeah, why not? We're level 10. What the fuck are they gonna do? We're the goddamn protagonists.
So I think next step is probably investigating potential avenues of getting underneath Rothburn Rook. It might be a good idea to also see what we can find out about the winery.
So talk to friends is what I'm hearing. Start poking and prodding at people we know, connections.
Well, I know we hate splitting, but if Elle is going to be with us, perhaps Felix can go with her to talk to the Fernburns or whatever their name is, and I can do my little mind trick thing to see what I can learn while you guys are talking to friends about them.
Are you going to play Taylor?
I am and have expertise in leatherworking, so I can absolutely do so.
Hell yes.
Very nice.
God, I wish I was there, but... Okay, so then we need to talk to Dia. I'm assuming I'd be the best person to do that.
If it comes to the point that we decide we need to gather as many allies as we can, we're not there yet, but I might be able to see if I can get Halana on board. And maybe she can get her family involved. But that's looking ahead.
So if you're going to talk to the Fernarms, should I mean, honestly, again, I haven't talked to Gregory or Malfura in years, and I'm sure they don't really care much for me anymore. So shall we wipe that off the table?
Maybe save it if we don't learn anything from the Fernarms.
Perfect.
And Amson can probably go with Vesper, maybe?
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
That means Ball and Ellery can go maybe just scope things out somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Ball, but...
That's vague.
Do we think that Mogther might have any inclination of what might be happening? Maybe you and Ball should talk to him?
I think I need to talk to him anyway. I need to at least warn him to be ready to get Shurza out of here.
I will also say you are all able to leave your pouches with someone and give them the ability to instantly contact us. You don't get to use the stuff inside, but it works up to like 100 miles away.
We should send Ball to whichever one is we think is going to be the most dangerous. That won't be a simple just, check in on them and see what they're thinking. Since you guys were saying that Ellery's family probably the most in danger, if I understand that correctly.
That'd be my guess.
So
I think they'd be the first targets. So
maybe Ball should come along for that. So that way, if there's any trouble, it's most likely to be around there, and I guess Ball's hardy enough to handle a little bit of trouble.
Okay, I can take Amson to talk to Dia. And then...
Do you think she'd be willing to act? Or help us to act? Considering...
I think Vesper's quiet for a moment, and I think she kind of runs her finger along the edge of her father's desk and goes, I hope so. I'm not going to make a promise, though. And for the first time, I don't want to tell either of my parents about this. Well, Lysander has connections to the winery, or did. Maybe he'd know something. But I'm worried that Varys might tell the wrong covenant.
Act rashly.
Right, or trust too openly, too freely.
Well, we all know how paladins can be.
But Lysander knows more about subtlety, and I think he'd be the most sympathetic to this cause if we did want to call on him. See what he knows about the winery, if he can get in touch with his connections, perhaps. Help us out with that.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him. It's getting late. Maybe we should talk to everyone tomorrow morning. We can talk to him tonight and just test the waters and see.
I should probably talk to Mogther tonight and not wait until morning. Ball, do you want to stay at the Copper Sail tonight?
It's better than being in prison.
Well, thank you for that very complimentary appraisal.
You should absolutely put that review on the sign out front.
The Copper Sail. Better than prison. I'm sure that will bring customers in. And I smile at Paul.
Elle, Felix, what about the two of you? For the night.
I feel fine going home. I mean, they don't know who I am, at least yet. And if you really want my help, I'm happy to do what I can, but I'm not worried yet. And she gives 2 little thumbs up.
You're the lucky one here. You can walk away from all this.
Well, I can now. I'm not sure after tomorrow, but
if you decide that you want to, you're welcome to. We're not going to hold you to this.
Well, I do need to find my friend, because if I don't, then my entire collection is ruined. All of my clients will be unhappy, and I'm not sure I'd be able to recover from that. So
that would be a shame.
If you think this will help me find my friend, then I will help you. I'm a little confused as to how that will happen, but I trust you.
Well, if he's tied up in the slave trade, I mean, it'll definitely help you find him. Maybe we look for the tieflings wearing the nicest clothes in town.
I like how you think. I'm in.
And
so break for the evening?
Do you mind if we keep calling you Stitches? Because it is a little bit confusing to call you Elle.
Oh, not at all. What? Yeah, no, Stitch. I love it, actually. Ha! It's so cute. Stitches it is. I've never had a nickname before.
As you guys are finishing up those last sentences there, you guys hear the bell ring. The sounds reverberating across Embershore, the city, from Norbell Tower, where the large bell is being rung, marking midnight. It's just rung once, but you realize now what time it is. Picking up from there, what are you guys doing? Are you guys splitting up? Who's going where?
Yeah, it sounds like we're going home for the night to prep for tomorrow and talk to Mogther and Lysander, at least. Ball's going with Ellery to... No, we're talking to them tonight.
Okay.
Ball's going with Ellery to be bodyguard at the Copper Sail in case shit goes sideways. I'm guessing Felix is going with Elle to figure out what you're doing tomorrow.
I mean, he was going to go home and just meet up with her.
I mean, whatever. You guys can do whatever you want.
Well, thank you for your permission.
And I am going to look at Amson and say, maybe you should stick close to Vesper for now.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. So we have Vesper, Amson going to tonight, as I understand it, to Varys or Lysander?
To Lysander, not to Varys.
Lysander. Okay. They're probably together if Varys isn't here.
Just going to point out, you're going to wake him up at midnight to ask him how to break into the winery?
Yeah, who knows if he's asleep? Also, I'm sure he'd be like, I mean, all right.
And your other dad is just going to be cool with you waking him up at midnight?
You don't know they're in bed. We'll find out.
Oh boy, will we.
We'll see if the lights are on when I get home.
You're in big trouble, young lady. Okay, so Vesper and Amson are going to deal with whatever comes of that. Ellery and Ball are going to the Copper Cell tonight, is that right?
Yes.
To check with Mogther. Felix and Elle, are you guys going home? Are you guys going to check something out tonight? Meet up in the morning?
Going to go back to prepare. Actually, Elle, if you wouldn't mind, if you have a guest bedroom, I don't need to sleep. Honestly, I could stay in your living room, but I might be able to prepare some letters that may introduce myself and perhaps our interest in designing a piece for Mrs. Furnham.
Oh, excellent. Yes, you can come back to my workshop. I need to go back there and change and get some rest and stack up on my lemon drops.
Okay. So, as the midnight bell tolls over Embershore, and you break to go your separate ways, we'll close on this evening as this plot unravels into a twisted knot that I honestly did not expect. I love D&D. I thought there's no way these gods are going to try to put them in manacles and take their weapons away again. I thought you were just going to kill them, but you know.
We're learning. No,
I was surprised. So I love how all the little decisions or the big ones can change the course of the story. So we'll see what happens as you guys are splitting up from the Stone Hill Abbey and seeing where you guys go and what happens next.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Back to the Story. For notifications when an episode goes live, you can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Download the app of your choice and subscribe or favorite us there. We also have a YouTube channel called Back to the Story, an actual play podcast. If you'd like to contact us, you can tweet us at back2_the_story. If you can't fit it into 280 characters, you can always email us at thebonfirefables@gmail.com. And if you'd like further information about the campaign, the player characters, NPCs, or behind-the-scenes sneak peeks, follow us on either Twitter or on our Tumblr, back-to-the-story.tumblr.com. Lastly, if you'd like to support the show, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Northville.